cannot live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
What's going on, fellow Illuminaries? Lorcana Thanos here, the Mad Titan of the Illuminary. Today, we are going to be ranking all 12 of the legendaries in Ursula's Return, with Ursula Return dropping on Friday, the 31st of May. So I thought we'd go ahead and rank them. We have all 12 here in our tier list here. Let's define the tiers real quick, and then we will get started. First, as meta defining, this just means if you're unfamiliar, these are a card or cards that will warp the meta. They will break the game open. We'll see play. These are cards, pretty self-explanatory, that will see play in competitive meta decks. Locals KTL, I just shortened for Kitchen Table Lorcana instead of Kitchen Table Magic. So these are cards that will see play in decks that are meant for a more casual environment or just something that you're going to play at home for fun. Waste of cardboard, these are cards that should not have been printed, and they are by extension a waste of cardboard. And lastly, pay the bills instead, dog. These are cards that you should not waste your money on, and you should just go ahead and pay those bills. Um, so let's go ahead and dive right on in. If you see me look down, it's because I have the companion app up and I don't want to miss any stats or abilities on any of these cards since I don't have the card image right here in front of me. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Mr. Piglet first. So let's talk about Piglet. I'm going to leave Piglet right here. So Piglet, it's in steel. It's a non-inkable 5 cost, 3/5. Yep, 3/5. With 3 pips. It has resist +1, and the ability is what I don't really like about Piglet. So if you have no cards in hand, Piglet can challenge ready characters, and so especially in a steel deck, if you play Whole New World, especially. This ability is never going to go off, even if you pair steel with the colors that you typically are going to pair it with, um, whether that's amethyst, even sometimes ruby or emerald. You're always going to have cards in your hand, so I don't really see this as an ability that is going to trigger a whole lot. And for that reason, I am going to put Piglet here and pay the bills instead. I don't think Piglet is very good, and that's just that. That is my opinion. Let's talk about Triton next. So Triton is interesting. So Triton is inkable, but it costs 9 though. So again, it's in Sapphire. 7 strength, 9 willpower with 3 lore pips, shift 6. And we will talk about the targets you have here in a minute. But his ability is opposing characters get -1 strength for each location that you have in play. I don't That's where I think he falls short is I don't see Sapphire being a big location based deck. Now I think you could combine that. Everybody knows you're probably going to just stick with Ruby Sapphire. And sure, Ruby has some decent lower cost locations, but I think that's where Triton's not really the best. In terms of targets that you have for shifting, of course, you have was he, 7, I believe. Yeah, the 7 cost one from the first chapter. More specifically, what you're ideally going to use it for is the 3 cost and 4 cost Triton that comes out in Ursula's Return. But overall, I don't think Triton's really that good, and I'm going to put him in Waste of Cardboard. I hate to put cards down here, but I just don't really think that Triton is kind of like that guy. I don't think he's really like that dude. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Mickey. Um, I think Mickey is very interesting. So Mickey is, of course, in Amber. He is a Musketeer. He's not inkable, which is important. He is a 7 cost with 3 strength, 6 willpower, and 2 lore pips. You're not going to really hard cast Mickey. You can get him out with a shift 5, and then he has support and bodyguard, so fitting in with the Musketeer theme. Now his ability is interesting. It's Musketeers Unite. When you play this character if you played him with shift, you draw a card. for each character with bodyguard you have in play, that will include himself. So you at least get that replacement effect with Mickey. And then on top of that, obviously you'll draw X equal to the number of bodyguards you have in play. With the Musketeers being Amber Steel, you're going to, that's, Steel Song. That's obviously a good ink combination already. And then you could just add in some bodyguard stuff. So, if you go with Amber, of course, you have all of your prior Donald, Goofy, Musketeers. Now you have Minnie as well. There's even some newer Donalds and Goofies. If you add in Steel to this equation, you have what? You have Hercules, the six drop Steel Musketeer Mickey would also work, and then of course you could shift on top of them. Um, and then you got the new mini for the deck. So they're Simba and Amber as well. So Kita and Steel as well as a bodyguard. So you do have options, and then speaking of Kita, you could even shift her onto the Steel one. You got the one drop, so there is some synergy there. So in terms of where Mickey's going to go, I'm going to put him in locals, kitchen table Lorcana. I think the Musketeer deck is more of a fun deck. It's more of a thematic deck, and I'll probably end up doing a video on him here on the channel. Speaking of thematic decks, if that's something that's more your flavor, more your speed for Lorcana, be sure to look up here wherever the card is. I did a video last week of just a casual deck for Hades and the Titans using the new Titan support that is out in Ursula's Return. So be sure to click the card and check that out. Who do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about, so we've done Steel, Sapphire, and Amber. Let's go with a different color. Let's go Hades. Put him there so we can talk about him. Hades is not going to go there. I'll tell you that right now. So our first Emerald Legendary, Hades is interesting. So he's thinkable, cost 4, 3/3 with 1 pep. The big thing with Hades is you exert him, and then you banish one of your other characters, and you play a character of the same name as the banished character for free. The thing that's interesting about this is I've been kind of looking through the database. There's a few things that seem interesting. I don't want to spill the beans just yet. I don't want to share the recipe for the secret sauce just yet because I want to really test and see how that pans out. One example I know when he got revealed that was talked about is use the green, or sorry, emerald. I think the 2 cost Tamatoa, Hades, exert, and then on your turn 5. When you bring out the Sapphire 8 drop Tamatoa. Sorry, I'm trying to think about who we were talking about for a minute. But I know Tamatoa was talked about. There's some other characters that I've found. One, since I'll share one, because we're going to talk about her right here, is Shisu. So you've got the 2 3 drops that are here in Ursula's Return, and then you have the 4 drop that's in Sapphire. So I think it would be interesting, or if you went, I just those are just both so like unique color combos of going Christmas, going Ruby Emerald, or um going Sapphire Emerald to go into, well, actually I guess since this is a Ruby card you'd have to go Christmas Town. So yeah, you could go one of the 3 drops. Next turn play Hades, and then would that be turn 5 exert, and then bring out the new Shisu on top, or cheaper. Sorry, I'm getting the abilities mixed up. So that's an option, but there's some other characters I'm looking at messing around with. Um, Unfortunately, it seems kind of, I don't think Hades is here, and Hades falls down here. I don't really want to call him a waste of cardboard, but um, it kind of is for right now until he proves himself, and I'm going to put him above King Triton. Let's go with a different ink. Let's go. I guess we haven't done Ruby, and we haven't done Amethyst. Let's go ahead and go. We'll go Ursula. So Ursula is interesting. So with Ursula, let's put her over here so we can talk about her. So she's an inkable 7 costs, 4/7 with 3 lore pips. She have 5. And whenever she quests, you exert chosen character. So fantastic. Love to tap down my opponent's cards. And then other characters can exert to sing songs. So she's the only one that can sing. That's pretty interesting. Obviously, with Ursula, you're going to be looking at typically sticking with Amethyst, Emerald. So obviously in Emerald, everybody knows you've got the Deceiver and Deceiver of all. So obviously everybody knows that in Emerald you have the Deceiver and the Deceiver of all. But I was curious, outside of the big Ursula from the first chapter, what were the other Ursulas in Amethyst? And so apologize. So I wrote them down. So if that's why, here we go. So you've got the Mad Sea Witch, which is here in Ursula's Return, and then you have Ursula's Sea Witch. So again, similar naming convention with Deceiver and Deceiver of all. I believe the other one was in set 2, set 3. I forget, but so you have that play line there where there's going to be plenty of Ursulas in order to shift on top of her. I definitely think she is good. I'm going to put her in We'll See Play. I think that's a foregone conclusion that Ursula will definitely see play. Next up. All right, so next up we're going to talk about Mulan. Fa Mulan. So Mulan is very interesting. I want to tell you now, she is one of my favorite legendaries in the set. So she's in, of course, in Ruby. She's inkable, cost 6, shift 5 with 2 strength, 6 willpower, and 2 lore pips. And then her ability is when you play this character with shift, she gains plus 3 strength for the turn. And then during your turn, whenever she banishes a character in a challenge, you deal that same amount to up to 2 other chosen characters. So again, you're able to, just like the image shows, use her arrows and snipe off some of the characters. I think Mulan's fantastic. She is definitely in We'll See Play, and I kind of want to put Mulan in meta defining. If this card works the way that I think it will, I think it will absolutely be meta defining. We all know that Ruby Amethyst and especially Ruby Sapphire are still going to be the best 2 decks of the format, along with Emerald and Sapphire. We're going to talk about this guy here in a minute. So I think Mulan is definitely in contention for that. And I'm going to leave her. I'm going to leave her where she is. I am such a fan of this card. If I'm wrong and the other Ruby Legendary is better, I will eat crow on that, and it's perfectly fine. She's definitely going to see play, and I think Mulan is very good, so I'm going to leave her in meta defining. Let's go ahead and wrap up my color of choice with steel. So Donald Duck. Didn't know he was a Tampa Bay fan because he is a Buccaneer. So Donald is interesting. So he's inkable. He costs 4. He's a 3/4 with the lore pip, and basically with his ability during your turn, whenever one of your characters, whenever he banishes a character in a challenge, your other characters gain +1 lore this turn. So I think that's very interesting. Obviously, with him being a pirate and a captain, he fits into the whole pirate theme with, of course, your Captain Hooks, your Smees, your John Silvers. So you could really utilize the whole like pirate location deck. Obviously, you're going to utilize Jim Hawkins, and I know we got more like Treasure Planet stuff with recently, and then of course you have some of the other hook stuff with like Starkey and things like that. So I think Donald is interesting. I'm going to put Donald down here next to Mickey in Locals Kitchen Table Lorcana. I think that is a fair assessment and where he belongs. Next, let's wrap up Sapphire and let's talk about the Queen. She is a very interesting card. So I love that she costs 3. She's thinkable. She is a 3/3 with a lore pip. Her ability is really cool though. So you exert her, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you may reveal an item card. Then if the item costs 3 or less, you can play it on the field exerted and then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. I think that's a fantastic ability. Item Slingers is definitely going to be a deck going into this new meta. And as we said before, Ruby Sapphire is still one of, if not the best deck of the format until the ban list happens. And I'm going to make a video on that in the future. I definitely think she is, we'll see play. Kind of want to put her as good as Ursula is. I think overall, like generic support, I definitely think the Queen fits better in that role. And so I'm going to put her above Ursula and we'll see play. Let's talk about Cinderella. So Cinderella is interesting. So she is our last Amber legendary for Ursula's Return. She's inkable, costs 5, is a 1/5 with 2 lore pips. So she's statted the same as Moana from the first chapter. This girl here is a princess and she has Singer 9, which is crazy. So she can sing practically every song in the game on her own. And then, of course, that 9 is going to be huge for utilizing the new Scene Together mechanic. And then her beautiful voice ability is whenever this character sings a song, your other princesses get +1 lore this turn. So obviously, she's meant to go in a princess theme deck to really maximize that ability. So obviously, you could like sing with her, bump everything up, quest with Moana, ready your princesses, and then you could do some other shenanigans, or you could sing with her, quest, and then quest with Moana, and then do some other shenanigans that way. That probably the more effective way to do it. But yeah, I think Cinderella is really good. She definitely does not belong in these bottom tiers. My thing with her is, yes, she costs 5. She'd probably be too broken if she had like shift 3 on top of, say, Ballroom Sensation, the 1-drop. She's going to pair very well, nicely in Steel Song if you don't go full dedicated princess. Because you've already got Ballroom Sensation, you've got Ariel, you've got the new Shift Ariel, you've got Rapunzel, you've got plenty of other things you could do. But I think a dedicated princess deck would be cool. I definitely think if I leave her here, that she's better than Mickey and Donald. I'm curious if she's going to see play. I think at most she's a 3 of and probably a 2 of. So yeah, I think out of respect for her, I'll put her down here behind Ursula at We'll See Play. So that leaves us with Shisu, Yensid, my boy, and of course Diablo. So let us talk about Shisu. Shisu is very interesting. Don't get mad at me. I'm not leaving Shisu here before you yell at me at the comments. So Shisu costs 8, is uninkable. Of course, is a dragon and a deity, which is interesting. 5/4, and then 3 lore pips, shift 6, which is pretty hefty, but you're gonna pair it with Sapphire, so you'll be able to ramp and be fine. And then her I got this ability is that when you play this character, you banish all opposing characters with 2 strength or less. And so, on reveal, a lot of people were talking about using this Shishu with the Shift Kita and Amber, and that's way too much ink. You're not going to get that in that color combo, and that's more of a win more strategy. That's not something that you really want to focus on. This card is fantastic. This card is very, very good, and yeah, it's really not much to say. As we talked about earlier, there is both 3 drops in this set and the four cost Sapphire one from Floodborn that you could play. This card is definitely going to see play. Is it meta defining? Probably, but I'm gonna leave it at top of We'll See Play, and here's why. Because it only hits 2 or less. That is something that I think if it was 3 or less, it's meta defining for sure. But I think 2 or less is maybe a little cause for pause. And like I said, if these two end up being switched, I'm not going to be surprised. But it's my list, so that's where I want to leave it. Next up is my boy Yin Sid. I wanted to leave him for last, but Diablo deserves a talking point, and we are going to drop Yin Sid next to Cindy for a minute. So Yin Sid is meant for one deck and one deck only. That is Brooms, of course, and he is 2 costs. He's inkable. He's a 1/3 with 1 pip. And of course, he is a Storyborn hero and a sorcerer. So he has 2 abilities. The first one is when you play him. If you have a broom in play, Magic Broom in play, which they're all named Magic Broom, you'll be able to draw a card. And then if you have 2 more brooms in play, he gains 2 more lore pips, putting him to 3. Obviously, he's very easy to remove, so we gotta time how you play him properly. But I'm an avid broom enjoyer. I'm working on a competitive deck list to bring you guys. I'm putting a lot of hours into testing it. I think I got it just about ready, but I want to be sure and really test it before I show you. As much as I love brooms, I know a lot of you love brooms. Yensid has to go in locals and KTL, and I want to put him above Mickey and Donald. That's just the fact of the matter. That's what brooms is. It's a fun deck to play. I love playing it, but it is definitely not a competitive deck. It is definitely a more casual deck that I think eventually people will play it on the competitive scene, but that doesn't mean that it's a competitive deck, if you understand what I'm saying. So as much as I love the deck, I have to leave him here. Okay, so our last legendary is, of course, Diablo. He is an Emerald. He's non-inkable. Cost 3. He's a 2/2 with 1 lore pip, and he utilizes one of the new ways to shift by just discarding an action card, and they play him on top of a character named Diablo. There's only 2 other targets right now, one in Amethyst from a prior set, and then a Emerald one here in Ursula's Return. Hits evasive, that's fantastic. And then, of course, his ability is during your opponent's turn when he's exerted. Every time that they draw a card, you may draw a card. So obviously, if he's exerted, they play Whole New World. You'll draw 14, basically. So that's great. He has really good abilities, and I understand why you guys like him. The most comparable example that the Yu-Gi-Oh players are making is he's similar to Max C. While that's sort of true, it's not 100%, the same equal 1-to-1, but I understand what you guys are saying. It is similar. My thing with this guy is his stats. As a steel player, I can play Fire the Cannons, Let the Storm Rage on, Strength of a Raging Fire, Grabber Swords, a Long Game Zeus. I can run evasive characters to run into him. There's ways to deal with him, and I think that's why he falls short for me a little bit. He's definitely above these 3 tiers, so he's going to soar up here for a second, and then I'm going to determine where he's going to go. He's definitely better than Cindy and definitely better than Ursula, and I got to put him above the Queen. Is he better than either of the Ruby ones? Probably not, honestly. I know you guys are going to disagree on this one. This one might be the hot take, but it's my list and it's what I choose. I mean, yeah, he's good, but I definitely think he's going to fall short just a little bit. And hopefully I'm right about that. All right, so that is going to do it for our tier list. Running through it again. In meta defining, we have Mulan and We'll See Play, Shisu, Diablo, the Queen, Ursula, and Cinderella. Locals, Kitchen Table, Lorcana, Yin Sid, Mickey, Musketeer, and Buccaneer Donald. And Waste Cardboard, Hades, and King Triton. And I Pay the Bills instead, Piglet. So, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video. Please subscribe. I'm a young channel and I'm trying to grow. I'm doing new videos every Tuesday and Friday. So it really helps me out. It doesn't cost you guys anything. Please smash the subscribe button and click that bell so you get notified of when I make new videos. You can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter on X at Lorcana. As always, remember, the hardest choices require the strongest wills, and I'll see you next time.